Maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! Does have a problem after all. Don't make 30% of you guys have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can climb up the 110,000 ladder here. We have the breakdown so far of all of the information out of Euros here. And me being the fun little data keeper I want to go through and I want to talk about this data with what we have here, taking a look at how Rogue has kind of died off. Now, this does not hold true to the regional level because it's not, while these decks are very powerful and a lot of people have been going, well, like if a deck has, a 50% representation or, a 51% representation, does that make the deck, tier 0? I don't think so. I think that when you start pressing into the realm of the higher tiers, I would say something with like a 90% turnaround, something that is like near unbeatable. But right now what you're seeing in the format is two titans are starting to go at it. And with most Yu-Gi-Oh! Formats, it takes a couple of weeks to see development and see how these two behemoths can adapt. Now, in top 128 here, what you're going to see is 38 Sprite decks. Yes, currently this is the highest represented number within the 128, which actually is kind of impressive. Now, you're still floating around a range of 29 unknown decks because you gotta love the fact that Konami doesn't share information with the community. You love to see it. But, so within that spectrum, as of right now, Tearlaments and, well, I'm gonna say Sprite are kind of tied in terms of that internal power struggle here, where you see something like, let's look at your breakdown here for Tearlaments. We had 21 of the Danger variant, which means that the Danger build has by far become the best variant in terms of consistency from what players are looking at here. That's a good thing, right, ladies and gentlemen? Well, your real trade-off here also is within the range of the other builds, because you had 7 pure variants, which means you're going to have access to King of the Swamp, things like that within the generalized spectrum of the build, which is fine. Then we also had 4 Danger Punk, which means we're going to take advantage of Chaos Ruler Pepegaman to go ahead and mill off 5 cards from the deck. That's the main reason why you want to access that particular package within the deck, because milling 5 cards feels great, all right? Especially when you can go trigger, 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 all of these. Now, we also had 3 pure Punk variants within those, so 7 total Punk variants in all. Once again, you take a look at the Danger package, you're like, is there an advantage to playing this with the Punk engine, And then you go down the checklist, well, maybe I don't want to play the Danger stuff, maybe I just want to go with the Punk route. I think that's fine overall. Both engines facilitate the huge, big combos that you want to push through and do it awesomely. Now, interestingly enough, there were only 2 of the branded builds that we have seen so far. And I think that the Despia/branded build does set up some very cool ideas overall for what it wants to do. Don't get me wrong. I think in terms of just comboing and things like that, having access to Outbest, we've definitely seen this build on the regional circuit performing relatively well, all right? As a regional grinder deck, oh yeah, 100% one of the better calls here. And then we also had 1 Sprite tier element deck. Now, I'm not 100% sure what kind of monstrosity we're trying to pull off there, but that's definitely an interesting concoction. So that's everything we have right now. Now in the Sprite department here, you had 25 pure Sprite decks, ladies and gentlemen. Seems like that's the argument to me. You know what I mean? All right, cool. So we'll just wrap it up, call it a day. Pure is the best variant. We also had 9 of the adventure builds, which, if you can pull off the Griffin Rider package within the deck, set up everything that you need to set up within combo lines for that, you're not going to have an issue, all right? That's the cool thing about that build. And then we had only 3 of the Evil Twin variants feasible so far. So I think the cool thing with the Evil Twin variant is, while it does get a lot more leeway to kind of capitalize and make those really interesting plays, it kind of fails to the other builds. You know what I mean? Because everything else just feels better. Now, finally, so those are your big titans here. Now, within the Rogue category, we had 7 Flaunderies. Now, Flaunder's been holding on for quite some time here. It does not want to go away, all right? To be perfectly honest with you, I'm glad that Flounder has stuck on as, the counter, because its best mashups are everything that's not the top 2. So, considering the fact that it's held on this long is good. We also had 5 Math Mech decks 4 pure, and 1 adventure build within the top cut. So interesting enough for that. We've seen like the immersion effect here of Mathmech, where Mathmech has just been coming out here. Circular is a fantastic card. It's got multiple regional tops at this point, and it's just crushing a lot of the competition. A lot of people don't know what to do against that deck. Like, it's amazing. And then the Rika Sun Avalon deck, which ended up winning the event, only had 4 so far within top cut, which I'm actually a little bit taken back by that number. And then, of course, to my surprise, there are actually 2 Altergeist decks. I only thought that 1 Crazy Duelist made their way into top cut, but let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that 2 people out here got the chance to step up into the arena and showcase that was a working idea, I'll clap for it. That's amazing. Now, the one-up department. All right, so we had, what, 1 Sky Striker. Oh boy, Sky Striker. I know how excited you are to hear me say that name. Ah, that's fantastic. We also had ABC. Okay, so the Thurion stuff still has remained slightly relevant. Eldritch also made its way into top cut, which, I don't know how I feel about that. I figured Eldritch might have a little bit better of a chance than we had thought, but it doesn't look that way. We also had a Sword Soul variant within top cut as well. I mean, last format's decks have been holding on for so long that it's like kind of crazy to me. I still, looking at the power scaling from last format to this one, you thought that last format would hold on a little bit more. Whew, we only had 1 Despia deck, and it was the Predaplant variant held on. Ugh. And then only 1 Dragon Link Adventure. Now, I remember I said that Dragon Link Adventure would be as good as Sprite, and I've seen some very good Dragon Link players holding on out here to the format, you know, definitely keeping the deck alive, but it's crazy to me that this is the representation that is Rogue right now. All right, now we're going to jump on over here. I'm going to show you the devastation to top 32. Now, once we get to top 32 here, you see that exactly half of the field at this point is still Sprite, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we're not over that 50% mark per se, but Sprite's domination on the format is very apparent. Like, there's no real turning back from this point, right? Like, you don't really get a chance to go, oh, you know, we're going to go ahead and get a redo. No. Is the deck an absolute tier 1? Yes, 100%. It is the benchmarker of the format. But it is so far ahead of everything else within the format that it's kind of crazy. Is it unbeatable? No. I mean, Ultimate Slayer, Dark Ruler, no more. There are cards that can out this, but the problem is the deck's recovery boards are pretty insane. Now, those huge allotment of tier elements didn't really stand the test of time here. At this point in the tournament, you're down to 9 tier elements players. And, you know, I know a lot of people want to be happy that tier is holding on. I mean, it got second place, right? Like, that's good. You know, in a format where players are kind of starting to develop this deck, try to figure it out. Well, yeah, to be honest with you, still some issues in that department. Now, the Rogue department at this point left us with 2 Flonderies. That's a pretty big, devastating blow, man. Good news is, out of the 7 that we've seen so far, 2 of them survived. So I would consider that a pretty good turnover rate into top 32. Rika lost half of their players climbing up to top 32, so that's really hard to swallow too. And then the 1 Altergeist player climbed up all the way to, you guys saw, top 4. And then that leaves us with 2 unknowns within the top 32. But now we present the question: is there a problem right now with Yu-Gi-Oh? Yes, there is. We are in one of the heaviest, most powerful formats that we've seen in a very long time. You know, the former power creep that we had, that so many people were, including me, were ready for a ban list to clean it up. No, Konami didn't even give us a list. At this point in time, if Konami goes after any of those former decks and chooses to limit them, it's just going to be a whole bunch of clown emojis. You know, the Adventure package has already been power creeped. I know people don't want me to say that because they want the power, or they want that engine gone. But ladies and gentlemen, yeah, it's not as good as it once was. I'm sorry to tell you that. But welcome to what heavy power creep looks like within the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's been a couple of years since, you know, we've had to swallow a pill of this magnitude to, you know, like, see how this meta has gone. But, like, they have to do some dramatic shifts, and I mean, November, it's not going to matter because it's just going to power creep even harder when the Ishizu Tier Element stuff goes. So, yeah, that's your format right now, ladies and gentlemen. So, guys, please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.